We will exercise leadership, adhere to our protocols, and base our decisions upon a reasoned assessment of all available information. We will advocate for each of our schools and support high-quality public education in Leominster. Having said that, we're going to open up for an open forum. If anybody would like to address the committee, please come up to the microphone, state your name and address for the record. One more time, would anybody like to address the committee? Please come forward. And Steve, is there anybody virtually?
There are members and nobody is saying that they'd like to speak.
Okay. One last and final time, if anyone would like to speak, please come forward to the microphone, or if you're virtual, please indicate in the chat or by unmuting yourself. All right, having no one come forward, we're closing that portion of the meeting. Superintendent, we're going to move on to communications.
There are no communications this evening.
Okay, we're going to go right to the superintendent report now, please.
Thank you. Before we get started, I'd really like to acknowledge and take a moment to reflect upon the tragedies that happened this past weekend. It was a pretty busy weekend of negative episodes, and the news has weighed heavily on many people. So if we, for the sake of all those involved, if we could just take a moment and be silent and reflect. Thank you. So today is May 17th. I know everybody's off a little bit because it's a Tuesday, just makes our week go a little bit faster. But 1 month from today is the last day of this school year. So if you're a teacher or a student, you are very excited. If you're a mom, a dad, grandma, I'm sorry, it's not my fault. But we're very excited. It's been one of those years, and right now things are just on such a high and a positive, and we're moving in the right direction. So I see this last month as being a lot of fun. MCAS is quickly wrapping up. Students, there's a few grade levels that are still testing this week, and we have a few tests next week for mathematics, and then we're moving into the science test, and then it will be a wrap. It's gone very smoothly, having all students on devices make the process and the feedback loop much quicker, much more efficient. So it's been a blessing thanks to our technology team. I don't want to say it out loud, I'm not a lot, but it's been great. And also we're hearing on a daily basis that our students are working incredibly hard, and their stamina is coming back, which is great. They're sticking to the test, they're trying their best, and they're putting their best effort forward. So that is great feedback, and that's at every level that I'm hearing that. So kudos to our kids. Quickly, COVID has a little bit of an uptick. So if anyone would like additional home test kits, please let your school know, call your building administrator or call your school nurse. If you have to test a little more frequently, maybe because one child has it, you want to make sure another one doesn't, or whatever it's going to take. We have 4 weeks left, and we really want to hit the finish line strong. So if there is a need in a family, please just reach out to any building and we'll see if we can help you. We have field trips back in place. We have sporting events, the senior prom. So it's a very exciting time. We just want to make it the safest and most healthy. And speaking of that, one of the big events happened last weekend. Willy Wonka. We have one of the best theater groups around. And I was just having a conversation with Melissa earlier. And when you see it prior to the presentation, you just shake your head and say, how are they going to pull this off? There are children everywhere, but it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. And the students, and I have to give kudos to their director, Andrea, she's magical. And our students shine every time they hit that stage. So I want to thank that whole theater group for putting on yet another wonderful production. Little side note, because we won't be together until June now, to just pay attention to Veterans Day celebrations. They're happening all over the city. If you could attend something, they're very meaningful, they're powerful. It's a great teachable moment for our students. They're posted on the webpage. You can go to the Veterans Center. So anything you can do over that long weekend, it's really a nice tribute. So if you have some time and you want to take your family to something, take advantage. Many, many celebrations throughout the city. And lastly, I know I keep saying it, but the graduation day for the high school is the 4th at 10 a.m. at Doyle Field, all fingers crossed. This is a day, if you've been with us since your child was in kindergarten, the first day of kindergarten, we talk about the day you graduate from high school, that day is set in stone from that first day. And it's hard to imagine 13 years when you drop off that little person, but it goes in the blink of an eye. And our students have 2.5 weeks. We have 2.5 weeks to prepare. It's a lot, but what a celebration. 470, Dr. Dubzinski?
62.
462 will cross that stage. We have very large graduation classes, and that's a tribute to all the hard work. So it's coming. Let's get ready. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We are lucky, we have a student report this time. Welcome, and we haven't had one in a long time. Mr. Matt, please come up and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Matt Cohen. I just wanted to go over some things. There's a ton of activity going on at LHS and CTI this time of year. AP exams ended last week after a 2-week schedule. 281 exams were taken. I participated, they went very well. Math MCAS started today for our sophomores. Senior projects are taking place at CTI. As you mentioned, Willy Wonka was performed at the All City Musical this past weekend. It was awesome. These are Coach's wording.
I slid a joke in there and he said to me this afternoon as he reviewed
Oh,
this,
no.
I'm not going with that. That's so stupid.
It was awesome. Great attendance, and spoiler alert, he got the golden ticket.
He goes, I'm not saying that, Doug. I'm not going with that.
Scholarship season is upon us as well. Last week, some seniors were honored by Knights of Columbus, Leominster veterans, and North Central Massachusetts Chamber of Commerce. Our athletic teams are having a tremendously successful spring. Boys and girls lacrosse is headed to the playoffs. Baseball is contending for a league title. Softball is on the cusp of the playoffs. Boys and girls track competed at the league championships this past weekend. Boys tennis is improving daily, and girls tennis is having one of the most successful seasons in history. We are holding elections this week for a student representative to the school committee. Speeches were held on Monday morning, and elections are open until Friday at noon. I also participated in that. They went really well. I think we had like 5 or 6 people for LHS, 3 for CTI. We all had an opportunity to go in and express what we want to do in that position. And, you know, fingers crossed it went well, and we'll see what happens. Our speaker series starts this week. Successful woman of color. Tremaine Shaw, the women's track and field coach at Northeastern University, is speaking on Friday at 11 a.m. and then staying for lunch with a small group of students. We are thankful to the Community Foundation of North Central Massachusetts for the grant that funds this. The math team won the Elizabeth Haskins math contest to Fitchburg State University. Dr. George Santos, Minister of Communities in Cape Verde, is coming to the United States on official visit. He's coming to LHS to meet students and staff, coordinated through our World Language Department. Dr. Leslie Leroy, she is the department chair. Dr. Calvario is a Spanish teacher. Prom is on Saturday, from 6 to 10 at the Doubletree. And the National Honors Society inductions and I guess deductions is tomorrow as well at 7 p.m. Special Olympics are being held this Friday, and we always have a great day.
That's a great event. That's wonderful. That's a great event.
Yeah, and the Special Olympics talent show that amazing too. So that was a lot.
Addie's somebody who's been with us for years and years. He was one of my fall work babies. So he's a junior now, so
The best
vote
of
for
the best.
Matt.
Oh, endorsement from the superintendent.
Sorry.
Oh,
You should have used that. You should have used that. You're so smart.
Well, if I had it on film, I'd post it.
Glad I didn't get caught. Thank you,
Great,
Matt.
thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thanks,
That's
Matt.
great.
That's good.
So there's a ton of things going on, so that's wonderful.
Great.
All right, moving right along, we're going into the presentations and discussions, so the strategic plan is up.
Great. I'm going to have Lorraine Cipolla join me. Before we get started, I really want to thank, this has been a long process, but we had a steering committee that had to keep this ball rolling. And it's been a long time coming. We had Brandon Robbins as our school committee representative. We had the entire curriculum team, including Michelle Oliveri, Jillian Santucci. We had our union reps on there. We had several teachers and a mix of administrators. So we had so many different perspectives as we were building this plan. I want to say this was a labor of love. That is the biggest oxymoron because it really was a lot. But we have come before you just to share this process. This is not a document that we want to sit on the shelf because that does happen in the past. This is going to be leading all of our work. So strategic planning is education's ability to apply any school or district with a mission to succeed in the best interest of their students. This is a long-range plan. You're looking at anywhere from 3 to 5 years to fulfill. This helps us define what we intend to achieve when it comes to student outcomes and how we're going to get there. This year, through facilitation and partnership with Attune, working with community partners and educational teams, we're able to get a deep organizational diagnosis of where we are as a school department. We now know that our school cultures and communication are our strengths, and we can use those levers to accelerate learning through the implementation of rich, rigorous curricula. Each school, each grade level, and every single educator will set yearly goals that directly align with this plan. Each year, new data can be re-examined and or reset based on the data that comes out. Each of us are held accountable for the success or failure of this plan, no matter who you are in the district. This plan lets people know what our district's purpose is, what we aspire to be, what our values are of our staff and students, and how we expect everyone to behave. What is special about Leominster Public Schools, what we're going to focus on to improve student experiences, what actions we will take to implement key improvements, and lastly, how will we know if we're successful? So through a combination of community surveys, focus groups, interviews, data collection, and consistent meetings, the following 6 strategic initiatives were developed. We have strategic 1, implement rigorous, aligned, and culturally relevant curriculum material and assessments for students. Number 2, promote content and instructional expertise through training, unit and lesson plan internalization, student work and data analysis, and other systems. Strategic 3, recruit and retain a diverse and talented team through equitable hiring, evaluation, promotion, distributed leadership, and pipeline practices. Strategic number 4, implement tiered academic and SEL supports to meet students' specialized needs, and a few examples are special education, ELL, credit recovery, social emotional. Number 5 is to develop and inspire stakeholders with a vision, mission, and graduate aims focused on equity and high expectations. And number 6, build and maintain a culturally inclusive, joyful, engaging, and a safe student culture. These initiatives are the fixtures that everyone will work towards. All efforts and resources will be directed toward attaining success. According to lead educational research Richard Elmore, education is like a 3-legged stool. The synergy between a teacher, a student, and content holds that upright. Should one of those legs weaken or break or be damaged in any way, that stool could tumble. These initiatives reflect a delicate balance for everyone at every level and require complete commitment. The next 2 slides reflect the aspirations of our community and how we will measure success. Specific targets have been set and will be monitored and hopefully exceeded. We always want to exceed our targets through this plan. There's 4 big buckets that surfaced and that we will consistently report out to you. The first one are graduates' capabilities We hold to that Leominster Public Schools will support students to complete their K through 12 educational successfully. With a Leominster education, students will achieve their desired career or academic goals and engage in their communities with limitless aspirations. And we have measures associated with that, and they align perfectly. Our second big bucket is student academic outcomes. LPS will provide a high quality, rigorous curriculum that advances all students, including subgroups, populations towards significant growth to close the performance gap. The achievement gap is one of the largest areas of need for us. The third one is student social emotional outcomes. Leominster Public School students will possess the necessary social emotional skills to develop strong, healthy relationships, as well as a strong growth mindset. And the last one that ties us all together is equity. Leominster Public Schools will be a racist-free, culturally inclusive environment so that one, all students can consistently access a high-quality, rigorous curriculum across schools, and two, school staff foster a sense of belonging and respect by upholding high expectations for all students. The metrics that we're presenting this evening have been vetted through a psychometric guru. We didn't always agree with him, but he thought he was the more knowing other. We know exactly where we would be if we chose to stay status quo, not change anything to our practice or curriculum at the current time. It is evident that is not in favor of students at Leominster. Within this plan, there is an explicit calendar of benchmarks that help us measure our work, and our professional goal is always to exceed those targets and move the educational needle as fast as we can. I'm going to ask Laureen to speak to these measures. She's identified specific targets. Some have a yearly one stated, some have the long range target stated, but she can speak very eloquently to this. Thank you, Laureen.
Thank you. I'll try. The measures that you see on the slide in front of you are really for our 9 through 12 students. So they are all about how they will be successful after they leave us, which is what we're looking for. The first one is the graduates attending higher education, and that would include any 2 to 4 year school. And our target out in 2027 is 65%. We have had a little bit of a dip. We did certainly during COVID, and we would like to get ourselves back to 65% of our students. And so all of our 12th grade students, that includes the vocational students, the LHS students, and our LCE students. Another piece of data that will help us to determine if we're successful for our students at the high school level is post-secondary education persistence rate. So how many of those students who went on to a 2 or 4 year school stayed and successfully returned after 1 year? So that's data that we're looking for. This is very consistent performance. And as you can see, we're actually just trying to maintain. So an 84.7 or 85% of our students currently have gone, when they've gone to school, they've stayed in school. That's tremendous. So that piece of data we want to hold to be a zero change or to continue that consistent performance. And then the next one is one that Paula had mentioned, a decrease in the gap between our students who are low income, and some people call them economically disadvantaged. So we do use those terms the same, and not low income. In 2021, that gap was 6% or 6.4%. So if we looked at, sometimes it's difficult to look at negative numbers, but if you thought about a line graph and there were 2 lines, so if our aggregate students were here, then right now our low income students are 6% below our aggregate students. Another way of looking at it is if you're on a number line and you want to get to 0, our aggregate are at 0, and our currently our low income students are 6.5 percentage points below the aggregate as far as their graduation rate. So Though these are data measures that we're looking at to talk about the success for our high school students. The next ones are for students who are in grades 3 through 8, and they are primarily the information that we get from our MCAS scores. So that would be for ELA and mathematics, grades 3 through 8. And as we mentioned the last time that we were together, it's been a little bit tricky based on the state assessments or lack thereof during the pandemic. So through the advice of the psychometric advisor, we had a 2019 actual. His recommendation was that we include the 2021 data, which we did do, because that data was not as successful for many reasons. It did depress our 2019 data, and then it depressed our overall targets for 2027. At the top of this slide, you'll see these targets will be revisited after the 21-22 MCAS data is made available. We have some of that data now. We don't have it all for grades 3 through 8. As soon as we do, and we have the ability to measure it, we will, with health, rework these targets. So if it is a concern, as it was the last time we talked, that maybe our 2027 targets were not as strong as they would be, we will continue to look at them, and every year we will rework them. And as Paula had mentioned earlier, we're looking to exceed these targets. So we have an overall target for our ELA, for our math, and then for the growth percentiles, which if we want to talk about growth percentiles, I'll come back on another night when we have lots of time to talk about that. But those are all state provided measurements, and we have them for each year.
I think a good way to talk about growth is just students might be successful year after year after year. We still want to have them growing intellectually. And there is a measurement that speaks to that. Even our smartest students have the ability to continue to grow. There's no endpoint. So we measure that in all of these as well. So we have the meeting and exceeding those categories, but we also want to see students growing at the same time. Okay.
Just to note, that's one of the things too, just to orient you to this slide, as I mentioned, you see the 2019 data, you see the actuals from 2021. Then, as Paula had mentioned, for these measures, we have a target every single year. So we've put in here the 2023 target. Then the status quo projection is if we did nothing, if we did not intervene at all for our students or for our teachers or for our content and curriculum, that's where it's projected that we would be in 2027. The target that we have is where it is assumed we will be with successful implementation of the strategic plan. And then the last measures are for our SEL. One of them, the percentage of students reporting high levels of school belonging. We are actually looking to the state for that information as well. They survey our students when they take their MCAS, and those are a few of the questions that they ask. So do you have someone in the school that you can speak to? How well do people at your school understand you? How connected do you feel to the adults in the school? How much respect do students in your school show you? So those are some of the questions, and we will analyze that data when it is given to us at the end of this year's MCAS scores. The last piece, something that we all hold very dear, is to really work on lowering that achievement gap that we have between our students of low income or that are economically disadvantaged. And they do include many of our other subgroups. Many of our students who are minorities and many of the students who have special education needs or speak another language at home are also in that piece, so they are economically disadvantaged. Right now, we're looking to decrease that gap And in 2019, the gap for ELA was a 27% gap. So again, I would say we would have a line that would be the aggregate. We would have a line, it's significantly lower for the achievement in ELA and even a little more significant in mathematics. So we do have interim targets for every single year for those two mission measures as well. And then the last piece was one of the things that I know Paula had mentioned, that in our surveys and in the SteerCo work that we did, the level of communication among and between all the stakeholders in Leominster was considered to be very strong. So we heard that families felt that they were heard. We heard that they felt that schools and teachers and administrators across the district communicated well with the families. We want to continue that. And so tonight is our first step in getting the word out about this strategic plan with this presentation. Clearly, there are a lot of people who pay attention to these meetings, and so that we appreciate you allowing us to come here and take this time. Matt is going to make sure that we have this on our new website that he's going to talk about later. So there will be pieces of the strategic plan that will be up there, and we will continue to update that as we have measures and as we grow through the plan. Paula will be using one or more of her Sunday messages to get this information out to families. And then in August, for the back to school presentations that we do for our teachers, our other staff members, and for our students, they will be hearing about the strategic plan and how it will positively impact all of them. We'll be coming back to you, or we'll be asking to come back to you as we move forward and we have information to provide you with on changes of targets or success in the key results that we put into the plan to measure how we're moving forward. And again, as I said, we'll update them on our website.
One of the things we promised this committee as well is that we will build in our data meetings into the calendar for next year. Once Chris works on those dates and we get the calendar, at least once a month, we'll be able to bring data forward to you, which will speak directly to this plan, and we'll be able to keep the measurements going and keep them consistent. And we might have to change some of the data points for the good. That's what we're hoping for, or for the better.
So then go around and ask people for questions. So we'll start with Ron.
Yeah, thank you, Eileen. Lorraine, on the, I circled, it says mission measures. The graduation rate, you were saying was minus 0.4%, that they didn't go on to 2-year, 4-year. But do you have any evidence where they went? What were they doing if they didn't go on to a 2-year, 4-year school? What were they doing? Were they, I hate to use the word, were they gainfully employed, or did they go somewhere? Fill in the blanks.
So as Dr. Dobzinski will attest, we ask for the seniors, we ask all the seniors to provide us with information of what their plans are for the next year. So we do know, and we have a percentage who would be going on to school, a percentage that would be going into the military, those that would be going directly into work, those that would be going on to a technical school that would not be considered necessarily a 2 or 4-year college through that definition. And then unfortunately, there are a couple that say other, but very few. So we do.
So you don't consider, if they go into a technical school, you don't consider that?
The state doesn't consider that as part of their definition of higher education. That's a problem.
That is a problem.
So
Just,
yes,
okay, just indulge in my little mind. Because you're the one that said percentage, and Doug, jump in, stop me whenever you want. What is the percentage of those kids, male or female, that are going to a technical school for 1 year or less than 1 year? I have a bias in that.
so I can tell you, I don't have that in my walking around knowledge, but I can get that for the last couple of years.
That's the other thing. The last couple of years,
Sure.
a handful,
Yeah.
going backwards, because it helps to be able to start from the end to go to the front You know, you have to start somewhere. You can't just pick something out of thin air.
And so.
And so
2000 right.
it's something to build on.
Right.
Even if it's bad.
And
Unsigned, go ahead.
Those programs that aren't bad, that's.
No, I know that, but you know, the way the state is looking at this,
this.
she said it, the state's not looking at it as something being good. And so we have to stop demonizing the technical schools.
And so I've made a note and we'll bring that information back to you. And I will say that the percentage, we're well above 40% of our vocational, the CTEI high school seniors that are going on to 2- and 4-year schools. So there are a lot of our students who are at the CTE side and they're going on to what is recognized as a 2- or 4-year school of higher education. But we will get the information about the technical schools for you.
The reason why I said I've got skin in this. You're looking at one who went back to technical school after high school. That's where I learned. I had to study, I had to do all kinds of things I didn't like to do. I had to learn against my will. That's why I'm where we're at right now. But you know, I just want to know what percentage of kids are going to the technical school.
So, Maureen will be able to get that to you.
I'm happy. I'm happy.
Sam?
No, my question's been answered, but there's your responses.
Okay, Josh?
Yeah, I agree with Ron. I just want to add union and non-union apprenticeship programs as part of that data tracking for technical programs. We can get some clarification. I know a lot of that students call.
And our co-ops are growing like crazy right now, so we're at an all-time high.
Thank you, Brandon.
I don't have any questions.
Melissa?
He was on the team.
Mine's just a clarifying question. So the 3 to 8 grade, is that considered more of a cohort? So we're looking at the 8th graders and where they're at in 12th grade, or are we looking at the 3 to 8 in 2027?
So are we going to look at that group? We're actually, what we're going to do is we're taking the 3 to 8 this year. And because it's such a large group of children, we're then going to compare it to the 3 to 8 for next year.
Okay.
That's how the state looks at
For
it,
the year
cohort
after.
against cohort, so.
Okay, so it's not necessarily where
The same
that group
kids.
right now is. In,
No,
But you've made it.
but we can track that.
Because one of the things, as far as our graduation rate, that's one thing that they do. The state takes a snapshot of every 9th grader that comes into our high schools. And then they determine from that, how many of them walk across the stage, 462. And that's how they determine that graduation rate. So it's dependent upon if they were with us in 9th grade, walking through the door, that's the graduation rate. But the MCAS, we're doing this one group of 3 to 8 and then another of 3 to 8.
Thank you. Greg, do you have a question?
Sure. So how do we intend to bridge that achievement gap? What are some things that we plan to implement to kind of address that?
So the very first thing that we're doing is providing our teachers with high quality curriculum materials that have been vetted by either the state or a nationally recognized process through Ed Reports that shows, that has research behind it, that actually adds value to the students who are home language, not English, or first language, not English, and who have special education needs and who might be low income. So we are investing in high quality curriculum products in ELA, in mathematics, and in science. And I would be remiss if I didn't say soon to be social studies, but that's the first piece. The second piece is to be providing very targeted professional development for our staff members in the needs of the students that we have in front of us now in Leominster. Our student populations have changed. The languages that they're speaking over the past couple of years, they have changed. And so our teachers, we recognize our teachers need support, They're doing a great job. We want to provide them with more support so they can reach those children. So we're starting with high quality curriculum products and targeted professional development for them.
Okay. Yeah, so, when we talk about equity, right? Like, I think, equality of opportunity and equality of outcome. And obviously with children, we want to reach that point where we get the equality of outcome. But what concerns me is the big gaps and loss of, that advanced coursework, especially with our economically disadvantaged students, our students that are achieving at a high level. I worry that we're losing sight of those folks. We eliminated the LEAP program, right? Like in the name of equity.
Still have LEAP, Craig.
What's that?
We still have LEAP. We just changed the name of it.
At the elementary level?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So we've and the other concern is, right, we have a high graduation rate, but then I see things, and I'm not sure if everybody saw the articles around our CTEI, where we stand in terms of our scores, education scores, and things like that, and things like that worry me. So how are we still helping out those high level achieving students, while also, like, how do we lift up those students that are struggling to close the gap and not bring down the students that are achieving at a high level? If that
I
makes
think
sense.
those are two really separate questions. So, Lorraine, we actually just addressed somebody about the CTI. US News, Greg, is that the article you're talking about?
Yeah.
It's really, so we're not happy with the metric and the way it was taken, but we just did a response to that. Do you want to speak to that, or?
Certainly, I can.
Yeah.
If you don't all have that response, we'll make sure that you do
I
get
submitted
that.
it to Dean.
Okay.
We haven't gotten it. Okay.
There are two pieces there. One of the pieces is that they do not consider the technical school piece as a higher education. So any of our students who go on to a recognized technical school, they're not part of that. The other piece too, this is an error that we've made, and we are now going to correct it. All of the advanced placement tests and the students who are taking those, they were all sent in together under the umbrella of Leominster High School. We did not partition them out between Leominster High School and CTEI. So when it came to two of the metrics that USA News uses, we received a score of 0 on 2 out of the 5 metrics. We had plenty of CTEI kids taking, and the percentage of them getting 3s or higher on their test was great. And we'll give you that information.
I just sent it out.
Okay. So unfortunately, that was an error in reporting on our part. The way that they do calculate the metrics, CTEI will be at a little bit of a disadvantage because of the number of students who go out to a job, or, as was spoken to, apprenticeships or technical schools. That's not going to give them a score. On the other hand, if we list, like the state of Massachusetts, when they're looking at high-level coursework, they measure AP, or they measure an international baccalaureate. They also measure any student who goes out on a co-op from the vocational school in a Chapter 74 recognized program. They're considered to be taking part in a high-level coursework. Dual enrollment is also another one of those. So the state of Massachusetts, in their metrics, they recognize co-op as being as aggressive and important, but US News and World Report does not.
Thank you for the explanation. I didn't hear that, but that makes sense why it would. That's rough, but and then the last piece, I just want to thank you, Lorraine, for getting me all the information that I asked for in the last meeting. I know it took some time to do, and I know at the time you were very short staffed, so I truly appreciate doing that. So we had received an email about a question about the DEI director. So was that under ESSER 2 or ESSER 3? That
The Director of Equity,
Yes, yeah,
that is in local.
I'm sorry.
That's coming out of our local funding.
Okay, all right. And so do we feel that that role is going to help bridge the achievement gap? What's kind of the goal of that?
Yes, actually, we're one of the last urbans to bring this position on. So this person, so if they know Leominster at all, they know that that means you're going to wear many, many hats. So the equity piece is probably the largest component of that job. We've worked really hard to have all students be able to be included into gen ed classrooms, no matter who you are as a learner. But the equity piece is difficult. We have such a diverse population, and we're not just talking about, our low-income students. We're looking at our LGBTQ, our special education, all students having an opportunity to be in a classroom, have a sense of belonging, and we think we're hitting the mark, but oftentimes we're not. This is a person who's going to research how to best do that and provide professional development directly to our staff. They're going to be running on roller skates because we have so much catching up to do. We're just so proud that we can finally invest in this work. We had started down this pipeline right before COVID hit and had really started to impact practice and change and beliefs. And we sort of have a fight in the cabinet all the time. Do you change people's beliefs and that'll make their practice change? Or do you make their practice change and beliefs will come along with it? So it's a delicate line that we walk. This person is going to be essential when we roll out our curriculum, our assessment, our data teams, our professional development. They have to be a voice at the table. They have to be a lead voice at the table. And it'll be an eye opener for us to have that fresh sense and those fresh eyes on all of this. It's a lot to keep up with in such a diverse urban community as Leominster.
Thank you. My last piece I would just say is that.
Greg, Lorraine just wanted to add to what Paula.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
So one of the pieces that we didn't touch on was the opportunities for students who are traditionally successful. One of the pieces that we hear from Paula all the time that we live is that we're not just about pulling kids up, we're about pushing other kids up. So yes, we want all of our kids included, and so that they have model students in front of them. That's the pulling them up. But we had conversations with our high school people about getting as many students into AP classes as we possibly can, giving every single child who wants it the opportunity to take AP. And we just discussed this at the last meeting. And then what do we do for those children who want to try on AP, who are itching to do dual enrollment? And what are we going to be doing to support them? So it's certainly part of the conversation all the time.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing is making sure that we're lifting people up and not lowering people down to close that gap. And that'll certainly be a focus of mine next year when looking at the data. And then the last piece is that my concern with more administrative roles is that what I hear a lot of times is the classroom, the needs of the students in the classroom and the support structure, paras being pulled to sub for other classrooms. And, I can just, paras are so important, critical roles. And for a teacher to lose that, it's hard. So I see a role like the director and I see, hey, that could be two, I don't know, I don't want to estimate salaries, but at least two, right?
A lot more, Greg.
3 more, okay.
Yeah, so, Greg, that is a problem for all of us. And I think it's been worse the last year, trying to find substitute teachers. And we've tried through the human resource department to attract more and more people. Those roles are essential. Sometimes that one-on-one with a student just makes their whole day and takes them through and gets them to the point that they need to. We try as hard as we can. This year, we literally had no subs. And so we've had to work into their contract, the ability to pull paras. It's nothing we want to do, trust me. They're essential in our classrooms. And if we could get more, we would. We have hundreds in our district, and what they need to be doing first and foremost is working with students. So we're trying all we can to get some building-based subs, permanent subs, whatever it's going to take. It's a difficult role to fill.
Thank you.
My only question is just, Lorraine, do you know what our overall graduation rate is? You may not, but
For,
just for like Leominster High School, CTI, in, you know, conglomerate, we have 462 students walking across in a couple of weeks. You know, what is that as far as a percentage of graduates?
I'll write that down and I'll get that for you.
It's so high. It's,
Yeah,
our graduation rate is excellent.
You know, and we always have had a strong graduation rate, but I don't know, we were talking about negative numbers and things like that. I just wanted to.
Right, so the graduation rate for the aggregate.
I want to get the aggregate and let people know that indeed we do have a high graduation rate, and that's something that we've had for years.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it would be nice just to know exactly what that means.
And historical on that would be nice as well,
Yeah.
just because it is a number that we celebrate every year.
Right.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Paula. We're going to move on to the new webpage demonstration.
Yes, this came about, part of the feedback I received from last year's evaluation was that our current webpage, there was so much on it, very difficult to find and manage and all of that. So we took the project, when I say we, I say them. This team has done amazing things for our district. So they have revamped our whole site. I can navigate it. So that's a good thing. I'll turn it over to you, Steve.
Thank you.
No.
So first, I just wanted to say thank you to the school committee for the time to do this. We are so excited about this project. This is Kyle White. Kyle White's the system admin, and Matt Boucher. Matt's the assistant system admin. And so we are. Matt took the lead on this project, and so I'm just going to turn it right over to Matt. This is brand new information, right? So you're the first audience that we're showing this to outside of Paula. So the plan is to release this website sometime between now and the end of the school year so that schools can get adjusted to it and parents leave with knowing where things are in terms of the new website. We kept a lot of things similar, but a fresh new design. So I'll turn it over to Matt.
Thank you guys for having me. Over the past couple of years, we've kind of taken everything that we've been doing and then questioning it, whether we should be redoing it. Is there an easier solution? The website has been a way that we can save a little bit of money, make life easier for everyone, parents, staff, and then really reach out to the public. So for the most part, everything's the same. All the content, all of what was on the original site is on this current site. It's just how it's organized, structured, trying to make it easier for parents. I remember when I first started tackling the project, I was talking to my mom and she said that finding calendar events, small things, snow days was impossible. So it's all like the main issues that parents might have and trying to solve them. Most of the approach that I had kind of taken was clean it up, try to make it presentable, and then have the information in a structured manner that one could easily try and find, breaking it up. We have mostly all the departments are the same, the schools are the same. All of the small tabs, you might have to search for a little bit, but you can find everything on both the old and new site. We don't have
Is there a spot to make the thing bigger?
Yeah, it's kind of how we're presenting it, where it's a little bit smaller due to this tab up top. But for the most part, it's easier. There is a iPad app, tablet app, an iPhone app. It kind of shrinks it a little bit, but most of the information is stayed structured in a easy manner. So let's take you through some of it. We'll go to Bennett Preschool for an option and see what it looks like. Some of the things that we kept. That's what's there. Site. Sorry. So Bennett looks kind of similar to the homepage. We kept the structure of having school first, showing you, an idea of what some of the students might entail. We have kind of some up-to-date photos, what the mission statement is, how to get registered, all of the generic stuff. And we kept on the homepage the calendar. The calendar was one of the most important things for parents trying to reach out, figure out what exactly is going on within the school and the district. And each site has the calendar on the homepage, and then a contact us page for staff and administration. So we have a dynamic map where you can search around Leominster, see what's going on, where the school might be located, as well as staff cards for each of our staff. Each one's broken down by school. So on Bennett, it's got only the Bennett staff. You can break it down by department, see who's in what, and then you can break it down by teachers as well. From here, you can even email directly to that staff member. You've got their email and what role they've got. You can always go back to the district page, and registration for each school ties back to the district site where you have all of your information packets that you can submit. The idea was to try to throw all the contacts on each site. So if you're trying to figure out, hey, I need to do registration, you can scroll all the way down and you'll see who you would contact for each of that. Technology needs, you've got all of us, as well as the school staff. And then other things like health services, school lunch, special education. Apart from that, it's very standard and generalized. Staff, some of the administration staff have tried to go through and add their little flares to each site, but they really haven't gotten a hands-on since it hasn't rolled out yet. I'll give you an example. Fallbrook, the administrator there, she kind of took her own liberty, tried to add some extra stuff, like school hours, programs, highlights, and then keeping everything the same, like having the calendar and everything else.
Can I add?
Yeah.
So that's an excellent overview. This is, we're moving to Google Sites. So one of the advantages there is everything is Google. It's free to us as a Google district, and everything will be integrated seamlessly. So the Google calendars that we use will be similar in terms of each of the schools, but then there also will be the district Google calendar.
Will there be multiple languages?
So another advantage of going to Google, Google has Google Translate. And so the parents at the top of the page will have an option to choose the language that they would like to see the web page in. It was a little more challenging in the old site. We did have that, but it will be a little more right out there in your face for any parents or any of the public.
Can you indulge in me? Can
I'll
you
try.
show it? Change.
Show it.
Off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure on how to do that, but I can. Each site has like a little tab at the top where you can select each language to be translated automatically through Google.
It might actually be under Mr. Thomas's picture on that page. See how he's. Is it? So as I
I
said,
got you.
like you're the first ones to see it. So the next steps are work with each of the schools. Generally, it's one of the admin that updates information for the school site. So we're going to work with them, make sure they're comfortable doing uploading information. Matt's a resource for all of them. And then what we'll do is we'll gradually release that to the parents. So one of the big pieces of information right now is COVID information, right? So parents want a place where they can quickly access the COVID information. So that's similar. And we work with Kathy updating that information. Sometimes it's weekly around testing sites, all those kinds of things. So that's an example of that. Ronnie, we'll get back to you on.
It's okay. No, I can't help myself. I just want.
It's okay. No, but it's a
sorry.
good point.
Please forgive me.
And our parents asked for that. And so one of the things we have on the existing site is directions on how to translate things. So we will make sure that we also have that resource on the new site. because that's what.
Will they have a list of the
The
languages?
Google Translate will have that. I'm not exactly sure where that is on this page, but it will have the list of languages that they can translate the site to. But parents also want to know, how do I get documents translated? And so we have some information around that too.
So Ron, your homework assignment is to go home and try this out in French and report back.
Great, I'll do it, you know.
No, right?
Yes.
I know you will. So.
That's
why I'm telling you.
This is a website thing, or if it can even be done, but like creative choices, there are gonna be like an online payment option for that.
So we've been trying. You know what, I'm actually hopeful. That has to do with the city side, not us. We're getting closer with the new controller.
Okay.
Because that would be so helpful to our family.
Why, and then that's what I was thinking with the parent information center on there.
Yeah. You know what, I'll have Mel follow up. New controllers.
Okay.
I can't say enough about
I
it.
just, especially going into the new year. next
Yeah.
year.
No, it's great, that's a good idea.
And we made some progress on the athletics side.
Yeah, we've been able to do
So,
that. So maybe now's the time to convert it. I know she has been in talks for probably the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years to do it that way.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she actually met Jen directly, so. Very good deal.
Yeah.
You guys are really good.
Thanks.
And so I was just gonna say, Sal, any other questions?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut it.
No, that's right. Josh, did you have any questions? Brandon?
No questions, it looks great, I think, nobody's gonna miss the little boxes, or I'm not gonna miss the little boxes, this is, no, it was so hard to find things, this is much cleaner, nice job, guys.
What's that?
Mine was also about athletics, so I don't need the tour, but if there's, I appreciate that we've had access to the Google Calendar. I find that greatly helpful, but if there's a way that parents can get access quickly through this to baseball game is one, the football game is in, the musical is one,
This should be very helpful. Yeah. Greg, do you have any questions?
Nope, I'm good. Looks great.
Yeah, no, it's great. Thank you. It was,
Thank you, guys.
a much needed overhaul, so thank you. It's team technology. Awesome.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Stephen, you can probably come right back here. So the next- we call that the hot seat, right? The next agenda item is the appointment of the assistant superintendent. And just to clarify, this is an appointment that the superintendent has made. It's not in our purview to hire, fire the assistant superintendent. That's oversight of the superintendent, the business manager, and the special ed director. And so we will take a vote to, support, but we don't get to hire or fire that person. Thank you. So if you would like to go forward. Great. I'm really excited. I hope everybody's excited. Jim, I'm sorry about you. I'm really excited to introduce my candidate, Stephen Maloney, for Assistant Superintendent of Human Resources, set to begin on July 1, 2022. Steve, born and raised in Leominster, has 30 years of experience in Leominster Public Schools as a teacher, principal of 2 elementary schools, Paul Brook and Northwest, a director of instructional technology, lead facilitator of the district safety team, and a cabinet member besides everything else we fill that. Besides being a father of 2 former Leominster students, he himself has been through our district as well. He has spent his entire life and career devoted to the city and truly bleeds blue. And I think he owns more blue clothing than Dean. Ooh, the brown has been brown. Professionally, Steve has extensive knowledge and experience with our staff. As a leader, he's been on multiple negotiation teams, even prior to being a cabinet member. Steve has dealt with the good, the bad, and the ugly of decision-making. When COVID hit, everyone panicked. He didn't. He went to work daily. He worked alongside each building staff in technology, protocols, and trainings at a level that we had never seen, and we didn't know how we were going to do it. Our district was up and running within days. Steve has earned much respect from all of our staff as well as community members. I've spoken to the mayor several times about succession planning. He's constantly in my ear about succession planning. No single point of failure, right? So preparing our staff to take notes and responsibilities is a huge responsibility. This particular role is essential and not easy to operate the school department. It requires a special set of skills that can only be acquired over time. There is no better candidate than the one that is sitting before you now. I have professionally watched him for many years and advocate for your support of him in this position. I have the utmost respect for Steve's ability, candor, and commitment to be an amazing assistant and look forward to working with him in this capacity. He will not only support our district, he'll defend it and the good work that's been done on behalf of our students for as long as he's here. I've asked him to, on his own behalf, before I ask for a little support.
Well, thank you. That was the longest 3 minutes of my life. To sit and have someone speak about you is a challenge for me. If you know me, that it's not a comfortable place for me. But I definitely appreciate all of your kind words, Superintendent. So I thank you. I'm humbled to have this opportunity, but I am prepared to take on this opportunity. I say I fully understand the position. I know full well what I'm about to embark on, but I'm ready. I'm ready to continue working with the amazing team at central office, the amazing admin teams in buildings, the teaching staff that, if you know, I've spoken so highly about in Leominster, and our students. Our students are, that's what I have the hardest time with, missing them most. So this will give me an opportunity to re-engage with staff, but also to hopefully engage a little bit more with students. And I missed that mostly due to COVID. But I would like to just say I'm thankful for the confidence that the superintendent and Dr. Riley have shown in me. And, I just wanted to say a few things. As you can see in my resume, I've been around in the district. I've had the wonderful opportunity to have teaching and administrative positions throughout the district. And, I've had an opportunity to be able to grow and to find success. Sometimes not so much success, but then success built upon the challenges that I've had. And so I've had the privilege to be on many teams, from negotiating teams to professional development teams. And I think that those all came together to help lead me to this place. I just wanted to, I'm very fortunate. I've had some excellent mentors along the way. And so I'd like to just say, from the outstanding, my first principal, Bob Savatelli, and then other principals, Mr. Tresoloni, Mr. McDonald, Mr. Hay. And so each one of those principals, I've had the opportunity to watch, and I like to say, take the best of each of them and try to emulate some of their goodness. And, the superintendent that hired me as my first admin role was Superintendent Fraterelli. And Marilyn was she was so gracious and allowed me opportunities to grow and develop as a leader. And that's just to name a few. I can't even begin to talk about the staff, the teachers that I worked with along the way and the impacts they had on me. So I just want to say, that I will take each little bit of each of them and do the best I can for the students in Leominster. And so, I pledge to do that. I pledge to do my best, to work hard. If you know me, I'm going to put the days in and the hours in and above that. And so, I'm just going to be an advocate for Leominster, for the students, for the staff, and for Leominster Public Schools. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Does it get referred to a committee? Do you understand the process? How this all works?
So,
Can you explain it?
well, the superintendent gets to choose or appoint somebody. We need to approve that appointment. We don't get to hire and fire that particular position.
Did you get a copy of the law? Get a copy of the lawsuit?
I don't have it.
Just so you understand the process. I think sometimes people get confused over it.
Right, it is, I think, a confusing
It is.
thing, but in the statute, it does give the,
Did you get it? So.
it gives to the superintendent that power.
I read it online.
I've read it, I don't remember it verbatim or anything.
I've got that online. People need to read it.
So, like, 2 months.
You understand that, everybody?
Department of Education. Yep.
Because it is, as Eileen said, confusing. And everybody reads it as a different interpretation.
Historically, we've always voted on it as a committee based on the superintendent's recommendation. Just for folks who don't have that for a long time.
Purpose of sort of thing. So many times one day.
Brandon did send it to
All right,
everyone,
listen,
so.
So I'll go ahead. Oh,
Right, yeah. I just got this. Yeah. so it just-
It's under higher. It has to
Or
go
this 2 feet down.
Restaffing the.
Yeah. If you'd like to read it, do that.
A1B.
Section 15, superintendent schools.
You have to go down to 311.
It's under staff.
3A1B. Says assistant and associate superintendents.
Yeah, Brandon, do you want to?
I can read it. It says on the recommendation of the superintendent, the committee may establish the positions of and appoint assistant or associate superintendents who shall report to the superintendent. The superintendent recommends to the school committee candidates for the appointment to the position of assistant and associate superintendent. The committee shall approve or disapprove the appointment, but shall not unreasonably withhold its approval. If the superintendent requests, the committee shall explain its disapproval of a recommended candidate. The committee sets the compensation of the superintendent and the assistant or associate superintendents.
So does this go to committee or how do we do this?
I mean, I don't know that it needs to go to a committee. We've never sent it to a committee in the past.
I don't remember. It's been a while since we've.
Well, since Jim.
It's been like 6, if it's more than 3 weeks, Jim, I'm sorry.
Jim,
The last time I just
3
asked
weeks,
for a
3
motion.
years.
Yeah.
3 years.
I'm happy to make a motion that we support the superintendent's recommendation as for Steve Mamonian as assistant superintendent.
All right. And there's a second. And Melissa, any other questions or comment? Greg, you're up there. Any questions?
Yeah. And Steve, I apologize. I just want to make sure that we're kind of going through the steps here. What other candidates do we receive? Do we have any other candidates? How long do we have the position open for?
I did not post this. This position is one of our succession planning positions. So I've been looking at this for about 6 months now, knowing that Jim was going out the door. We do not have a posting policy in Leominster Public Schools.
We do at City Hall. We have a policy to post. But
Christine has an example. I know this doesn't help, right? But
Yes.
Christine has an example from another school district that we do not have, but if that's what we decide to go, obviously, that's something.
There's
policy.
the policy.
Policy for
And
hiring
our attorney
procedure.
said if we had a policy on hiring, then we'd have to follow that. Other districts have a policy CDB, which is other appointed staff assistant superintendent.
this is from another district, but we don't have a policy for CDB.
So, I mean, obviously, we've pushed, anybody that's been here for a while has pushed the whole succession planning piece of it. And although I wished I knew that we were gonna hire somebody.
And
I
I
just-
was gonna say, it's always been an internal candidate, as long as I
Right.
can remember. Since
But
I've
if
been
you
on the
knew
committee.
6 months ago, we were planning this way, that's something that would have helped, I think, for everybody to kind of know about it in advance, just so we knew. So I don't think we have a policy. And obviously, Steve is a good candidate. I don't think anybody's questioning that. Don't take that. This is our own internal sort of system here that we're trying to figure out, so to do it correctly. But, so on this map, anything else, Greg? So the job wasn't posted. And part of the whole succession planning was to, we had this issue with, I think it was Mr. Pienbacher, where we sent him to school and he took all these courses, self-certified, and then they hired somebody completely different from the process. And we were wondering, well, I thought we were doing succession planning and you sent this person to school and did all this work. And now later on, and he did, but he had to do a lot of work to get to that point where he was certified, and then he got a certification, and then he didn't get the job. We were, what? And then he ended up with the job, obviously. So, Greg, it's a sort of a balance between succession planning and, so, do you have any other questions at all, or? So obviously, we need to talk about a policy, but that's not what we're gonna do tonight. Just so it's posted, I think what we want to represent ourselves in the system as fair. We put it out there and we let anybody interested, maybe nobody will even apply, but at least they have the opportunity to apply. But that's got nothing to do with it.
Thank you.
Anything else, Greg? I'm not sure if it's on mute or.
No, I mean, no, I guess there's nothing to kind of add to that.
So there's a motion and a second. All in favor? Those opposed? Okay.
So Greg, were you in opposition? Or-
No, I feel like there should have been more there, but I I fully support Steve and I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. I just wish it was a better process.
Even though you do that Star Wars thing there. I never watched any of those things. I was stuck on Bolito. But from now on, part of the contract's gonna be that you can't do that anymore unless you do it the last time. And that's the final time.
Is this negotiation?
No, it's not. It's not a deal, or it's a deal closer. if you do
Okay,
that.
back to you now.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
It is good when we can homegrown to someone through the system. It is good. I just do think, again, that when you open it up, even people who have been in the system who might not be interested might say, you know what, let me just put my name in. Just, it's, some people do the same job for a long time and never get enough to just be asked. And I remember that, I know that from working for 29 years. Sometimes people, just the fact that you asked them, just you opened it up and say, hey, would you be interested? You know, I can't give you a job, but it's open and 9 times out of 10 times people only going to apply. But just the fact that they could. So where's our policy committee?
You need to have
There you
a
go.
meeting.
Now you have something, you know. Steve, congratulations.
Thank you.
Don't treat us any different now, okay? You know, now it's made it big times.
Yes.
So for our next meeting, could you forward us about?
Sure. That's from,
Amherst.
We really, well, we kept it. We really need to have a meeting because we didn't have one last month.
It has been.
To put things on our agenda, so we just need to make sure that our meeting happens. Yeah.
And you know, I don't know how much credit you gave yourself through COVID, Steve, but really, we relied on you to get these kids hooked up and teachers hooked up, and not once did you lose your patience when you had more than enough reasons to, and a true professional, and so we're lucky to have you.
Thank you. Say, great team though.
Yes, oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, let's take on some more business while we're here. We've never had the school budget, hopefully my budget, the whole city budget will be passed tonight. That'll be like record time. All right, Let's now move on to subcommittee reports. Do we have any subcommittee reports by the finance committee?
We've got some warrants to approve. Like,
You told her not to.
She sounded like she was having fun coming.
She didn't want to-
Like Ron was entertaining her. She could wait for the next meeting.
So besides the warrants, we do have the latest
All right.
finances. We're still on the plus side. In our general budget, we're still at a plus $231,479. Which is great news.
If we're gonna if we have a plan to transfer funds.
Yeah.
Can you let us know as soon as that's possible so that we can have some time to?
It would be the
work on
next
that?
meeting, but I think
Whether
most of it you cleaned up on one or the other.
2, 3, doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Just so the committee has time to work on it.
Yeah.
All right, so we gotta read the warrants?
All right, I'll make a motion to approve the following warrants.
Yes.
Warrant 40, $288,625.92. Warrant 41, totaling $2,277,000 and, sorry, $2,277,056.61. Warrant 42, totaling $3,714,830.62. Warrant 43, totaling $2,318,307.28. Warrant 44, totaling $484,239.48. And warrant 45, totaling $2,508,532.22. In the grants and revolving, warrant 40, totaling $25,321.23. Warrant 41, totaling $190,609.76. Warrant 42, totaling $24,329.10. Warrant 43, totaling $702,444.84. Warrant 44, totaling $51,430.32. And warrant 45, totaling $352,275.37.
All right, motion is second. Any questions at all on any of those? If not, all in favor, signify in the usual manner. Those opposed, thank you. Move now to over the warrants, which we did, policy subcommittee, we haven't had a meeting. Action items, acceptance of the gift. Did you see the letter that we have here?
This is great.
I'll just say it.
Todd Boulay is a wonderful. development. This equipment has made a difference already. So I'm looking for a vote to accept $118,374 from Todd Boulay in kitchen equipment.
Right, is there a motion to approve by Melissa?
Second.
I'll second. Mr. Ron Poole, been very quiet tonight. I'm not sure what's the matter, but.
No,
Okay.
you weren't here. I missed it. I missed the fun.
I missed it.
You didn't come to the show, Dean.
I know.
Sorry.
It's a shame. The show must go on. All right, all in favor, signify in your manner. Thank you. We'll move now on to new or old business enrollment report,
Just informational.
HR report.
Informational.
I have two new business
Yes.
items.
Well, you got that yet. We're still on
Well,
the
that's
HR.
what you said new and old.
I said the HR.
She said the
HR is all set. Okay, new or old business.
We need to do the superintendent's evaluation.
Next
So
meeting.
I'm hoping next meeting,
Yes.
you'll be able to present us that information. And then the evaluation committee, which I believe is Melissa and Sal and I, will need to meet, just give everyone the evaluations for people to fill out. We'll meet, compile it, and then hopefully be able to present it back to the superintendent for our last meeting, hopefully in June. So just to let folks know, we really appreciate, once you get the evaluations, that you get it back to us really in a timely fashion.
Is it gonna be the same kind of, I mean, I think we started off the year with, student achievement, the budget and accountability.
Yeah.
I don't want the same questions. How does the superintendent, perform and get along with her staff? I have no clue. That's money's up the water in terms of what our objective is. I'd really like to get rid of some of that stuff that's in there. I know we use it year after year, but it doesn't seem, I mean, do you have any idea as to how the superintendent interacts with her staff? We don't know that. So I'm evaluating the superintendent based on that. It's not fair to her. So
We can
I think we can
look
keep
at
it really simple.
I have the form, right, we have the form from MASC.
I think you can really streamline this.
It was
Make
a
it really-
standard form, I think, from MASC,
Yeah.
like a workshop that somebody went to.
Yeah, we did.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, did you?
We
Yep.
did, yeah.
But
And they,
I think the subcommittee could go through and knock out half of those questions.
Sure.
If we
So
don't.
we'll take a look at that and get that out to everyone.
And what else?
So the other one is we do need to vote on the last day of school being a half a day, which is something that we do every year.
July
From today.
23rd, half a day.
No, June 17th.
June
So I don't
17th.
know if somebody who has a child in the school system would like to make that motion.
Oh, that was great.
Josh is gonna
That
be the
was
best
great.
dad tonight.
Attention all students, I just want to let you know Josh's dad made the motion.
And that's.
Nazarella was against it, wanted to make it full day.
don't do that to the boys.
Josh stepped in the middle of it. And did it go. All right, we have a motion second. All in favor, signify in usual manner. Okay, by the way, we need lifeguards and,
Not at the school.
no, we need lifeguards at our pool, and we need we need swim lesson teachers. We're,
Swim instructors.
They offer a training for the
Yes.
lifeguard.
right, we'll help you get your, we'll give you a free candy bar in there from the concession stand. And then throw you in the pool. But we really do need, that's our biggest need right now is lifeguards. And so at the pool, we can only, there's a ratio, it's something like 1 lifeguard per 20 or 40 people. So it could get to the point, if we don't have enough lifeguards, we would end up having to limit the amount of people that come to the pool.
And that is something that is used a great deal
It's
in the summer.
amazing.
It's very busy.
How much it's used. So just putting a little advertising out there in case somebody wants to, as a child or somebody.
Should reach out to the housing authority, where they're right across the street, maybe there's some teams over there.
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
It's
no,
a
right.
great job for.
sounds good to me.
teenagers.
Yeah, every
College students.
kid I ever knew in school wanted to be a lifeguard.
I was a lifeguard.
I don't know what people are doing. Keep putting an opportunity. Huh?
No sound.
Doesn't meet the qualification.
Can you yell?
I can yell. I'm good at yelling.
Well,
Is that yell too much?
all right, so we have that done, and, so before we leave, we have,
An executive session.
yeah, but we're still in the new business. So at the last couple of meetings, one of them, we talked about the CTEI doing a building project.
Yeah.
Any update on that? That we're gonna look into whether or not we're gonna put something together and
They're in
put
the
it
middle
out.
of doing senior projects right now and all that, so. yeah.
All right, so can we keep that on the agenda?
Sure.
Ms. Chris, just put it on there. And then we were gonna get, and maybe you sent it, but I looked at so much in the last 2 weeks. I think you might have sent it. The survey that was done, I don't know if it went out to the champion or whatever was done. Did we get that in our packets yet? I don't remember seeing it.
Yes, you
Remember
did.
that
Yeah. A
survey?
few meetings ago, went out on a Friday, the last Friday from.
Did anybody else get it? Because I don't recall seeing it.
I think it's in something.
Come on, Brandon, you usually remember this stuff.
I don't remember seeing it, but
Can't say I remember.
I could have missed it.
All right. Yeah, just,
We'll resend it, sure.
just, nothing else, just send it out. Survey. Anything else, anybody else on the neural business?
Just one thing, somebody sent me an email about it earlier today. Bands in the Round is May 19th, so
Yes.
Thursday, 6 PM, Skype.
Anything else? Anybody?
So I brought up the LEAP program. In the meantime, across the meeting, I got several people just send me question mark. They don't seem to know that the LEAP program is going on again.
Let us do a presentation, Greg. We usually do a formal presentation, so we'll bring that forward next time.
Okay, and is it like, I guess enrollment, like, is it in the traditional sense that it was pre-pandemic, or is it in a different form that we're doing it?
Different form.
Okay,
But let us do a presentation so we can answer all those questions, okay?
okay, yeah, because
Every year it causes confusion, so we'll do that.
yeah, I remember an email during the pandemic about it being integrated woven into the classroom of every classroom in the name of equity. So I'd like to explore the potential of doing it in the traditional sense that we had before. I thought that was great.
Okay, thank you, we'll bring that back.
So next meeting, we're gonna focus on the superintendent's evaluation, but I also think, we were setting goals and objectives based on a committee that's almost changed entirely, right? And so I think we need to have a conversation before you close out for the summer on some of the things that, after we've been together here for 5 months, on collectively the goals of the committee. So our goals, as we set new goals for the superintendent, are pretty much matched, right? And that should be the way it works, right? I mean, we don't want to have a superintendent it's got 5 goals, we got 5 goals, and they don't mesh. So I don't think this has to be complicated. I think it's, as I said, I think we set out with student achievement, accountability, and the budget. And we focused on all of those things all the way through. And I think we made a lot of progress so far. And other things come up, obviously, if the superintendent thinks they're important, we should put on the agenda, we do. But in the meantime, we just continue to focus on those areas. And I think at the last meeting, everybody did a presentation, all staff did a great job. But I was hoping when we're talking about the plan to get us to catch up, it seemed like a long time for us to catch up. And it would seem, to me at least, that we should be setting the goal, so that it's not about 3 years or 2 years for us to catch up, but soon. And I don't know if maybe that was kind of meshed, was that kind of blended into the presentation, that this is kind of what the industry thinks, that this will take us this long to catch up, but it seemed like a long time. So maybe we can talk about those things at the next meeting. So superintendent's evaluation.
Which is why we didn't do a midterm evaluation.
Yes, right.
Because of that combination.
But chop out what you think you can chop out. I don't need my permission. I think everybody would agree. If there are things there that are just don't belong.
Sure.
Just take them out. And we focus on things that are. Yes, Mr. Rowe.
My argument in this is that, you're saying that you want compressed, and we need to have members of the administration or Paula, she can pick someone or two. The dangers of compressing students to get what allegedly we want. It can't just be what we want. It has to be what they want. Big difference. Because they're the ones that are getting the stuff drilled into their heads. We're not looking for robots. We're not looking for people to, it's called regurgitated learning. We don't want that.
Well, that's the
unfortunately. Whichever way you want to slice it, but you're asking for compression of education.
No, it's not.
That's you just said you want to put it like this.
Yeah.
You can't look a long distance. We don't have any choice.
Mr. Turk, what I'm saying, I was hopeful that it would be, that the time would be shorter. That's all. And so,
time is never short. You run out.
Greg, go ahead.
No, I'm with you, Dean. I mean, it took us 1.5 years to get to where we were, and we're talking 5 years out. I get that we're waiting for this year's MCAS scores, but like, we should be committing now. We should be committing now to better improvement. I would like to commit to getting back to 2019 by the end of next year. And like I said in the previous meeting, is that I'm not saying how to do it. I'm saying, what do you need to do it? And I think that that's what taxpayers are looking for. Parents are looking for is to get kids back in 1 year, 1.5 years, not 5 years.
That's what the ARPA funding was for, to help us catch up. So we had a whole nother conversation about that.
Yeah.
But I get it. So I think we can agree to disagree, but go ahead.
Justin, I think all of us wanted to be a short-term goal, but all of us wanted COVID not to happen or to be over in a matter of months. So while we're saying we want it to be June or September, COVID is still here. Kids are still out. Teachers are still out. MCAS is being delayed in some programs because kids aren't there to be able to take it. So yeah, well, I want to be able to set a short-term goal. We have to be back to a real world everyday learning to be able to hit the goal we had 2 years ago. We're still not there yet. That's my only pushback.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. I think what Greg is saying is, and what I've said is the other thing is to help students catch up.
Right.
So what Greg's saying is, he wants to know from the people who we're referring to, Ron saying, well, you gotta ask them, they're the ones that are at the desk in the rooms. What do you need? If there's a way to catch kids up sooner, how do we do that? And what do you need from us? What funding do you need? We control the fund. What funding, what materials, what things do you need that might help you catch up? That's all. I mean, I think that's a worthwhile statement, right? If you need something, we have ARPA funds. Is there something that we can do to help you that would help you to catch up? If you're just saying it's going to be a normal, sort of progression and there's nothing you can do to speed it up, fine. But if there are things, then let us know so that we can provide you with the materials and the resources that you need. to
And
help
all
you
of
catch
that's
up.
been taken into consideration, especially with the plan that we put out, the strategic plan that we put out there. Listen, nobody wants our kids to advance more than I do. We have new curriculum coming in for every child in every grade level. We have after-school program, we have technology, we have people. We also have to take care of these little people's minds and their hearts and know that they are healthy as well. So we're moving as fast as we can, taking everything into consideration. We've listened to everybody, we've moved, we've purchased. Now it's about putting it all into action. And 2023 is the year. If ever there was a year, please no COVID, give us 180 days to do our job. Teachers have not had 2 years to do their job. So it's time for us to work really hard. Greg, we've always set a parameter for ourselves. So we've always had like an 80%. Like we shoot for 80% all the time, and we fight ourselves. But we need to make sure that kids are still growing and that they're healthy and they're safe. But bringing in this curriculum right now, it's rigorous. It's tough, but it's tough for everybody. So we are socking away professional development, time, space, resources, whatever it takes. I mean, right now, really, it's all hands on deck. My hope is that 2023 will be a full, uninterrupted year where people can get back to the practice and the craft of teaching.
You also have summer programming, and that's certainly something that
It's filled up.
parents and children should take advantage of. And
Get
is there,
asked and
is
asked.
there a waiting list? So if we get enough, we could increase our offering.
We have a
or
lot going on.
sessions?
Right now, you're at capacity, right, Renee? On the lower level. Sorry. Just now.
I got some questions for you. Can you say the seashell spell in there?
Our summer school, K through 5 is booked at one school and only a few more openings, almost about 400 kids. And then this week, they're gonna post for the middle school and high school enrichments.
And Creative Choices is filled up.
Filled up to max.
Hundreds of kids will be in our buildings. I think every building is being utilized this year.
All right, so we kind of transit, go ahead.
Can I just add to what Paul said? And I appreciate the information that you provided the committee on the mental health approach that the district has taken. I'll definitely be sharing that with some folks. And I think that's important to consider here, the ramifications the pandemic mental health wise has had on our kids. I love the aggressive approach to get people back to normal, but I don't know that doing it too soon is going to benefit anybody. I think, be mindful of the fact that you need to rebound on a smooth schedule, right?
And a balance.
On a balance.
Very
Yeah.
balanced approach, a very transparent approach. We've got guidance and PCBAs, school adjustment counselors, school psychologists, working in teams that they've never worked in. And we're investing quite a bit in their professional development because the mental health for children has changed so much.
And if you don't have stable mental health, you're not going to be learning how to go.
So this is all good. Let me just close this up. I think we started off by saying something really simple and then it turned into a whole nother meeting.
Yeah.
Let me say something simple. Everything we do, we need to be able to measure, right? And everybody's world, I don't know what you do for a living. I do know what you do, but it's measured. You know how many people are in your buildings. You know the age too, right? And it's difficult. And last month, a couple of weeks ago, you did a great job talking about all these ways to measure things. I think that's the area. So we talk about these things, we need to measure them and show just how we're doing with them, right? Are we doing okay? And it's okay, sometimes you don't do as well as you thought you were gonna do. But we need to know that, right? I mean, that's it. So let me just end this by saying that the school committee, from what I hear from some of the members, and I think we're in agreement, if I don't say this correctly, but if there are things and resources that the staff needs that you think would help these students, help them mental health wise, physically, and also educationally to help them catch up. You're right, they're not widgets, they're not robots. Each kid is different. We got to know that, right? We do, we have to know that. So let's just leave it at that, because that's all I think we were saying. Not
The only thing I'm gonna.
not rush, not nothing, just,
The
if
only
there's
thing
things
I'm
we can do, let us know.
The only thing I'm gonna caution you with this
No,
is as follows. When you're measuring something,
yes,
you have a bias, whether you want to acknowledge it or not. The person doing the measuring has a bias. I'm not making this up. It's in there in the literature. You have to be careful because you could be tainting the results to satisfy
how many
your
miles do
need.
you drive on your bike a day?
Don't change the
No, no, no,
subject,
no.
Dean.
How many
Don't
miles?
change the subject.
How many miles?
Why you change the subject?
You can answer the question?
Not to, I want you to
Because you
know
know,
why
you
you,
won't tell
why
me.
you change the subject.
Because you probably drive 5 miles a day, you won't tell us because that's a measurement.
Just,
It's measured, okay, fine, okay, I'll bite. It shows up on my
Go
speedometer,
ahead.
fine.
Real quick.
We need to move on.
All right, Greg, what are you gonna say? Hurry up.
I just want to say, we're not, when I brought up the student achievement, I didn't say how we should measure it. I asked the experts in the room how they measure student achievement. I agree. There's biases that can come in. I can look at it from my own kid's perspective versus other children's perspective. That's why I want the experts in the room that know how to do this to help us with those measurement tools and those metrics.
All right,
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion.
We're
to
now
go into
throwing everybody, going to executive session.
We will be
Yeah,
coming up.
under chapter 39 to discuss contract negotiations with Shelley attorney.
And don't try to sneak in the other room and listen or put cups up to the wall. All right, this is a voice vote starting with Mr. Wool.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yay.
Yes.
Yay.
and we will
Yay.
return.
Yay.
Greg, where are you?
I'm right here. Yay.
All right, Will.
Motion to it.
So I'd like
No,
to make a
everything-
motion
we have to approve the contract.
accept and to approve the contracts for unit B, secretaries, custodians, and individual contracts.
All right, there's a motion. Is there a second by Mr. Wool?
Yes, I'll
All right.
second it.
All in favor, signify by the usual manner. Mr. Greg? Is it yay?
Yes.
All right.
Sorry.
Anyway, okay, anything else? All right.
Now,
How so?
How motion to adjourn.
second.
No, we're staying.
No, you can stay.
All right. Have a wonderful night.
Thank you, guys.